Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going back over to Wales to check out some Penderyn whisky. That is how you say it, Penderyn. So this here is one of their Icons of Wales series. This is the 7th iteration. I haven't covered any of the ones previous to that, and that's just sort of lack of general opportunity. I could buy these things online if I wanted to be fair, but with so much to buy, these have kind of just passed me by, I have to admit. And to be honest with you, to be brutally honest, I tried a few of them in the past, and I wasn't that kind of interested in them. They're kind of presented at 41%, and I felt that they were just a bit lacking in flavour. This one, however, I was gifted for Christmas by my sister-in-law and her partner. But in general, I've always been quite interested in Penderyn, especially their standard releases. They've got a lower core end that you can probably tend to ignore. They're decent whiskies, but the next step up, the kind of what I would call the sherry wood, the port wood, the Madeira finish, that sort of thing, all excellent whiskies in my opinion, although I do have to say they're a bit of a field divider on their flavour profile. I find that people either really get on with them or really don't. Personally, I'm in the really get on with them camp, generally speaking. So, let's have a little look at this and see what we've got. As I said, this is the 7th iteration. Luckily for me, and maybe for you guys as well, this one is presented at 46%. It's the first one in the Icon of Wales series that is presented at 46%. They were mostly 41% until iteration 6, and that was then 43%, now 46%. Don't have any information on colouring or chill filtration, but you would imagine that the ones that are at 41 and 43 have been chill filtered, and this one probably not so much. I don't know for a fact, but let's not tend to worry about that too much. A little bit about the marketing. I don't normally talk about marketing, but it's quite striking, so I think it's worth mentioning. This one's called the Rhiannon, and that's a character from the oldest prose in Britain. It's written in the Welsh language and features many kind of female characters. Rhiannon is the most prolific, I would say. In fact, that's actually the subject of the Fleetwood Mac song as well. But that's enough about that. We don't really need to talk about that because it really has no bearing on the whiskey itself. There's no real link between that and the reason why they've got the finish that they've got. It's just a nice little marketing thing. But I have to say, another bottle that's opaque. Lovely. I mean, it looks great, black, but it's a bit of a trend that I'm not overly fond of, I have to admit. Mainly because I can't see the liquid inside. Not because of colour, but just because of level. The last thing I want, this is quite high up, I imagine. I don't know. But what I don't want to do is have it get to the bottom and me pour out a dram and it's less than I think it's going to be and we're over. Do you get what I mean? So it's one of those things. It kind of annoys me, but you know, it is what it is. That's a first world problem. Definitely first world problem. Okay, let's get into the actual whiskey and see if it's worth your money. This one is about 50 quid. I've seen it as low as 40, and on their website they've got it about 53, 55, something like that. I'm not sure how much the person who bought this for me paid for it, but it's around that sort of money. It's not the most expensive one they've got in their Icons of Wales series, but it's not the cheapest either. Also, before they're tasting, it's worth noting that this is a Sherrywood Grand Cru finish. There are different finishes in the line. There are peated finishes, there are Sherrywood finishes, and there are Madeira finishes. There's also an ex-bourbon one, which it's the fancy one that was expensive, the little red velvet one. I didn't like that one that much, I have to admit. Okay then, on the nose. Now, immediately I'm presented with a kind of like a musty, oaky nose. Very high amount of tannins in this. It's kind of nutty as well. And interestingly enough, it's quite fruity as well. It's not like an orchard fruit, which is something I normally talk about. This is what I would categorise as kind of foraged fruits. It's like currants and berries, that sort of thing. Let's get onto the palate. So, the first thing I'm presented with here, just a touch of astringency. I wanted to say acetone in my tasting notes, but I don't think that's really fair to it. It's just, I'm struggling to put into words the initial feeling, but it doesn't stick around very long. You get a nice viscous mouthfeel, which leads me to believe this probably isn't chill filtered, but again, I have no information on that. And more of those kind of nutty and fruity vibes are coming over from the nose. It's quite a tasty palate. Yeah, the finish medium-ish. It does tend to peter out into a bit of a bitter finish, but you're still getting those fruity elements coming through, those kind of foraged fruits. Generally speaking, it's a tasty dram. Something that I did want to point on, when I first opened this at Christmas time, maybe I think it was on the day or the day after, the first dram that I had, I did not like at all. And I was really worried about telling the people that bought it for me, because they know that I'm interested in Penderyn. And it's remarkable how it changed after being open for a little bit. Just a classic reason about not judging the neck pour, because sometimes you might be fine, but sometimes you might get a completely different vibe off of it once it's had just a little bit of air to it, just for a little bit. What we now April, so it's 4 months on. This has been sat in the bottle, probably with about this much. Can you see there? This much missing out of it, and that was enough to make it, when I brought this back out again to assess, ready for the review, it's completely changed, and it's just a really tasty dram. Personally, I'm very happy with it. If I'd have spent my own money on it, I'd be even more happy. It's absolutely fine at 50 quid. Probably a lot of people will feel it's a touch expensive because, no age statement, all that kind of thing. But I don't tend to worry about stuff like that here at No Nonsense Whisky. If it's good whiskey and it seems worth the price, that's okay for me. It's pretty available. These don't tend to sell out that quickly, I have to say. So they've got enough of them sticking around. So if you're interested in those sorts of things, you can definitely get hold of this at the moment. If you're looking at this kind of from in the future, then maybe not so much, but definitely worth checking out this one if you've checked out some of the Icon of Wales series before and weren't that keen. Personally, I haven't tried them all, but personally I think this is the best that they've produced in the Icon of Wales series so far that I've tried. So I